right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It is Monday, the 28th, July 28th. I am just leaving. See, I have my swimsuit on. I am coming post class, swim class, and decided that it was time to have just something. So eating during this. I knew I wanted to do this. For some reason, I told myself, like, it's not that bad to post eating. Especially when, like, I've kind of been demonizing myself for this. I wanted to get this is the dairy-free cookies and cream from them. Not sponsored, I should probably say. I don't know. But, yeah, it's physical-wise and like eating wise, I've been kind of all over the place. A couple weeks ago, I know I mentioned like not being great mentally. I came to the realization that like usually when I'm trying to figure out which is better. Usually when it comes to how I'm feeling mentally, I don't know, the regulation just kind of feels like I just kind of let life decide how I feel. And considering like most of my life is just working, I kind of use that as a coping mechanism. And like I mentioned last week, you know, coming from one addiction to another and realizing that like since work is the only thing I have right now, this is what I've chosen as an addiction, so forth. I don't know. I guess this is what I kind of use as a cope for my, you know, mental health, because in my mind, well, I have to work. So, you know, I can't really think about these other areas of life, of course, because if I do, I could miss a shift because I'm, you know, sad or something. So if we just jump into that. Sorry, I didn't mean to like jump straight into an area. I guess it's not that bad because it's an area I've been thinking about. So it's not as if, you know, it's not a focus, because it's been a pretty big focus. But as every week goes, I start with the biggest area. And as you guessed it, as I just said, occupational wise, as always, is the big area. I would say this has been, I would say it's 50-50 with educational, but work-wise, I just got off, actually this morning, off of 3 in a row. Not the worst thing, but it's, I don't know, I know I needed to do it today, but I slept. I need to send an email out again about next week, because I am going to be out of town from Monday to Friday, so we'll go into that on Sunday. Well, I might not do it Sunday. I might just, I guess, film some stuff. I'm trying to figure out, because last year this is exactly what I did. Sat, talked to the camera, nothing really changed, and kind of just live life that way. You know, in the beginning of the year, I thought, oh, let me go ahead and, you know, take pictures of whatever I did, and that'll be the thumbnail for the video. And I'm like, you know, I should show what I'm doing, but at the same time, I'm filming this on my phone, and even after filming each one of these, I have to delete it after it's downloaded because my phone won't hold, you know, a bunch of stuff. So we'll figure out what, you know, what'll work. But I digress. This week has been very work heavy. It's been nice just to kind of do my thing. I had the same kiddos for 3 days. It was pretty easy shifts. Yeah, next week we'll go into next week whenever we get there. The other part, like I said, educational is pretty big. So I guess big, but there's, I guess, pearls and tribulations for each of those. I guess starting with my bachelor's degree, I had an exam this week that I was late for. I was supposed to be due at midnight last night, but I was at work, so I skipped lunch and did my test at like 2 in the morning. So yeah, I lost 3 points for that. I got a 88%, so I could have did better. And yeah, that just proves that. I also had one of my labs due this week, and down to the wire, took the very, very last second to do it. After I get back to the house today, I'm gonna do one of the other ones to try to, like, I'm always a person who wants to get ahead of the game, so I'm not at this point because it stresses me out more. But with this week, I just haven't been, God, not just with this week, I'd say this month, I've just not been my usual self when it comes to being on the ball. It kind of goes back to the doctorate. So I have not worked on it almost for the last couple days. I actually handed in a revision because so the school I go to, you have 3 attempts. I think I've said this before, but you have 3 attempts to complete an assignment. I've taken this class. This is the second time I'm taking it. The first time I did it, my 3rd assignment out of 5, I failed all 3, or I didn't get 100% fail. We'll say fail because I did. So I had to drop the class, and I'm taking it again. I had it again where I missed 2. So I just emailed the teacher. I'm like, I need to understand where I'm going wrong because I want to get this right. If I hand this in again, I have to drop this class. And if I drop it a 3rd time, I've never had classes like this. I've been at this school. I've earned 3 other degrees from this school. I've never had this issue. So please explain to me what I have to do. I sent it to her. She finally messaged me back after 5 days. She told me what I needed to fix again. So I sent that other one to her 2 days ago, and I'm still waiting for a response. So hopefully we get an answer there. And speaking of, I got a message from my advisor because you have to be engaged in the course. I haven't been handing anything in. So they're like, you have to hand something in by August 11th or you're dropped. So, yeah, that's where we are there. Those are my 2 degrees. Then for my, other types of education, I took a SANE nurse course. It's sexual assault nurse and nurse examiner. I took the clinical portion. So in this field, you have the actual didactic portion that is 40 hours if you do them separately. So there's an adult adolescent and then a pediatric adolescent version that both are 40 hours, or you can take the 64-hour one. I was supposed to take the 64-hour adult adolescent and pediatric one about 3 hours from here, but I didn't get all of the pre-work done that was supposed to be last month. So I think we talked about this in one of the weeks. So yes, I just completed the 16-hour clinical. Now, technically, I can start working. The instructor I had told me, like, I came in, it was at one of my jobs, and I had my badge on, and she was like, well, you work here. Just email me, and we can get you some hours. But the thing I haven't told you about is like hindering me to say anything, just because I don't want to start and then have to leave. But at the same time, I would love hours, and I would love to get experience while, working where I am. So I am going to send an email. I'm saying it today, and I'm putting it here, so I remind myself. So that's kind of been the week. I was supposed to take one other class this week. It's a TNCC course, trauma nurse credentialing thing. So like ED and ICU nurses take this to like understand like, critical medicine. And I was supposed to take that this week, and it fell through. So yeah, for 2 days I didn't do anything and was mad that I wasn't doing anything. That's really it education wise. We went over last time I talked to you was this week as well. Well, last week I told you about the passport stuff. My other area. I'm trying to think of what else, because I feel like I've hit a lot of things I would have usually talked about on Sunday, over like from Sunday to Sunday, but now we're going, or Saturday to Saturday it should be, but then we're jumping Sunday to Sunday, then we're Sunday to Monday, and yeah, so I'm kind of mixed up with my days. But if we go over physical wise, like I said, let's go back to emotional. This, like I said, has been kind of the underlying area for myself for, I would say, this week, but I feel like it's always there. I realized it especially when this week I went to a doctor's appointment that I had scheduled. I kind of, in my head, I scheduled it because I did need to have a follow-up, but it was almost like a panic schedule. After the moment that I had on the 13th, where it just felt like, I don't know, it just became like a lot, because it was just all this emotion kind of came out of nowhere after seeing a person. Right after that is when, I kind of started slipping mentally. So instead of, what I have been doing, where, I've been very diligent, I would say diligent mostly about eating. I've slipped on that, like where before I was losing weight because, I was taking my time eating. I was eating intuitively. I was, intermittent fasting, keeping up on my fasting hours, watching my macros. I just gave up on that. And within a week, I've gained like 6 pounds. And seeing that, I stopped weighing myself, and now I'm just kind of living. Yeah, that's mostly been it. And I don't know, I feel like I've been cursing, like, way more, not cursing and like saying bad words, but more cursing of like cursing the life around me, cursing what I have, cursing what I don't have, saying that, it makes sense why I don't have the things that I have, because, maybe I'm not meant to have them. Maybe I'm not worthy enough to have them. So I've been kind of going down that rabbit hole of, the worth thing. And I brought this up to a friend who, was kind of just trying to gas me up and be like, just look at all the things you have done. And, that's how you should be looking in cases like this. When you want to look at the world as, look at all the things you don't have, look at all the things you do. But I realized that my magnum opus is the things that I keep saying I don't have. And in my mind, those things I don't think are, the worst things to want. Like, I want to be a parent. I want to be in a relationship. Those are the things that I hold close to myself. Having a family, being, someone's partner, getting through the world with them, sharing a life together. If I'm meeting them now and say we're both still building each other, like, helping or just being a support for that other person is what I want. And, knowing that I don't have those things and have never had those things, it's been so long. I'm going to be 30 next, in January, to know that for the last 30 years, I've never done those things. And frankly, realizing now, like, especially after like kind of where I am now, opening my eyes and realizing, well, you've never kind of fought like you wanted that, if that makes sense. Like, it was first off selfishness of like, well, look where I'm at. Look at me thinking about myself all the time. Look at, I'm still doing it. And when you think about the, me realizing that I don't have those things, I'm still selfish in the fact that like, oh, well, I don't have those things, so I'm just going to be mad. It's still not putting in the initiative to go forward. But it's also, I think in my mind, I still feel like the person I was at 427 pounds. So I'm not letting myself, I guess, see myself in a different light. So when I think of myself dating or think of myself putting myself out there, I see that person previously standing in front of, a potential relationship. And, you know, I don't like that person. So, of course, I'm like self-sabotaging it. So, yeah, the goal is I have a therapist and starting working on those areas of my life. And, you know, kind of it's allowing myself to grow, allowing myself to be not only vulnerable, but vulnerable enough to put myself forward and say, like, hey, I was that person before, I'm not that person now. And I need to be able to let myself see a better version of me, and also be able to I don't want to say gift because it feels more like it's still a selfish sound. It's not fair for me to feel this way and expect to be in a relationship, because I would be putting these emotions and this, this negative, this negative talk into another person's life who is potentially looking for this or is looking for the exact same thing I'm looking for. That's obviously where I'm wanting to look when it comes to relationships. So, I think I need to take a bigger approach. Like, in my mind, I've always wanted to look at things as, from someone else's perspective. So I think I need to find a way to do it with this. Instead of always looking so selfishly at things in this realm, doing it where I'm, I guess doing it from the inside looking out, or no, outside looking in. Anyway, that's kind of all been where I've been mentally. I've just been mad about it. I've cried about it. I've just been all over the place with it. And then I think that I really want to work on it this time, because this thought, like I've just showed you, is a constant. I have this buildup of emotions, and then it'll go by the wayside and I don't fix it. And then, a couple weeks or months later, I have this thought come back. So the realization of, like, if I really want to fix this, if it comes to a point where I am, mentally somewhere else again, I still need to have this in the back burner, and I still need to be working on this, because I guess I should just expect to be single for another 3 years if I don't fix this issue. So, and that's something that hurts to think about, to know that, all these dreams and hopes that I've had in life, I personally chose to be alone. And it's the only thing I want more than anything, is to be in a relationship and have kids, be able to have a life and share a life with people. So that's it. That's kind of been everything on my mind, just sharing it. It'll probably be the same next week. I'm hoping. Yeah, I guess I would say I'm hoping it's still on my brain next week, because it means that it's still fresh and it's still something I'm putting in the front of my mind to work on. So, thank you.